Hi, welcome to Dead Principles, a chronicle of decay. I would like to have a brief discussion about Tim Dillon. Tim Dillon seems eager to equate government overreach with a bacon sundae, which seems to me to be a false equivalence. In other words, he seems really desperate to change the conversation. I've accepted at this point that most comedy podcasts are just mouthpieces for Trump. And they did that because they thought it was a smart career move, I guess. They were afraid of losing their audience. And a lot of these guys have audiences that are, I think, primarily young men. And what everyone has been learning from the reporting is that young men are fleeing the Democratic Party. So anybody that's trying to hold on to young men viewers is going to run towards the Republicans, of course. This is simple, business logic is all that's being applied. Obviously, Joe leaned very hard into it, and so did all of Joe's minions. The one that springs most immediately to mind is I'm so bad with names. It's the one with four guys, starts with an F. What's it called? Flatulent, maybe? I don't understand the format of that podcast, honestly, because you got the one with the evil villain mustache, and then you got three other guys who are just like, yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, yeah. I mean, do you need three people for that? That seems insecure at a certain point. It really seems to me like that one Oshkosh is probably enough. The other two dudes, I do not understand why they're there. Do they contribute? They leaned in. Well, I don't know. Those guys leaned into it and took a lot of credit for Trump's victory and then immediately started backtracking and trying to distance themselves from Trump once they realized that, he's not popular anymore because he's actually, a despot. So whatever that is, there's clearly no loyalty to these people. They're your best friend when they think you're going to get them viewers. And then the moment the tides shift, they are abandoning you and hurling rocks at you with all the others. So it just goes to show you they have no loyalties, they have no opinions, they just have a desire to make money, clearly. But so Joe Rogan is a meathead stool humping jock. That's really all he's ever been. And so who started a podcast early enough to get a large market share at the time. Although really, I mean, he just stole the idea from Tom Green. So, but yeah, Joe was in the right place at the right time to get a following. He was never funny, so I never looked to him for that. And really, most of these other people, they get a good joke in now and then. But overall, I'm pretty indifferent to them. But Tim Dillon, I actually enjoyed. I thought that his satirical, absurdist rants were funny. And I thought that sometimes he did a very good job of addressing, some unpleasant things that are happening in a way that didn't make it easier to accept, but did allow me to at least laugh a little bit at really the absurdity of the things that I was seeing and witnessing. But I stopped listening to Tim after he had his JD Vance dinner and then, went online to say that, there was nothing to see here and the Epstein stuff is all resolved or something. I can't remember what he said. All I knew was that he was just repeating things that JD Vance had said to him. And obviously, JD Vance is not a reliable source of information for anything. So if Tim feels comfortable going out and just repeating these things, then clearly he's just a mouthpiece for the administration. He's not an independent actor at that point. So I stopped watching Tim after that. But then recently, just a day or two ago, I see a clip where it seemed like Tim was questioning both Trump and Alex Jones, which was interesting to me. So I thought, well, maybe I should look more deeply into this. Maybe he is still trying to fence sit or something. Because if he's back in JD Vance's storylines, then that suggests one thing. But if he's then going to also question Alex Jones and Trump, well, then maybe something else is going on here. Maybe I need to look a little more deeply into this. So I watched his last episode and no. It's exactly what I have come to expect from Tim at this point. He very early in was saying that is it called Russiagate still? Like, is it Russiagate Part 2 now? Because, like, Wasn't it Russiagate the first time when the Democrats were saying that the Russians tried to help Trump? So now, and what is Trump saying exactly? Or maybe it's not Trump, it's that other lady who's lying for him. I forget her name. But what is the logic of it? What's the story now? What's the Russiagate story now? Is it that Russia was trying to help Democrats? Or what is it that the Democrats were lying about Russia trying to help the Republicans? I'm still not sure about that. Anyway, but according to Tim, that's a true thing that should be believed. I guess that Obama was doing something with Russia. So that's something that Tim thinks you should believe. And now it seems like he's just trying to whitewash as much as he possibly can. And the way it seems he is trying to whitewash everything is through, like I said before, just suggesting that all things are equal. That people getting upset about military in the streets is the same thing as people getting upset about the check-in policies at La Quinta. These things are not the same. But he wants to suggest that, oh, people are just so overly sensitive. People expect so much more than they should be expecting from their La Quinta or from their government. And it's just an overreaction in both cases. This is not This is not a fair or honest statement to make. Although I would agree that if I were checking into a hotel, I would not want to have to do that over a Zoom call. And considering everyone's complaints about the lack of employment currently in this country, the fact that things like check-in services are being outsourced to other countries is upsetting and not at all helpful to any of the problems that this country is facing. But it is also not the same thing as having the National Guard patrol your streets. Tim, there's a difference between those two things, and you know that. But you've apparently abandoned any sense of, moral uprightness or anything like that, because immediately after trying to suggest that military in the streets, people being upset about military in the streets and people being upset about La Quinta check-ins are the same thing, you went on to say that all of Epstein's victims are going to heaven, but you failed to mention the next part about how none of the Epstein victimizers are ever going to be punished at all. Weren't you the one that said that Epstein was the only one guilty in that whole thing anyway? So the moral of the show, I guess, was that people need to stop complaining and that there's nothing to see here. And that is now what you can hope for if you decide to watch any of Tim Dillon's podcasts. And that is also the explanation why why his numbers are falling off dramatically, why he has hidden his Patreon numbers. He doesn't want people to notice that everyone has figured out that he is a total shill and he's a joke and not the funny kind.